Hi everyone. So today's video is gonna be different horror stories that I have from working as a tattoo artist back then, 3 years ago. I just want to say that this was like a very traumatic experience for me, even though there are some stories that are a little bit more light and funny. I had experiences that were very I want to say traumatic, almost the reason why I stopped tattooing was based on that. Now, these stories are not necessarily why I stopped tattooing. I just find them a little bit odd and some are a little bit gruesome. So I'm just letting you know. Um, you can skip this video if you're not into that, but you don't have to be into that. But if you find that disturbing, obviously, I get it. Been there, done that. So yeah. Okay, so the first story is kind of funny. The first story, I want to start a little bit like light, you know? But basically, there was this girl, right? So she wanted a tattoo under her collarbone. I put the stencil on, everything was fine. Uh, and I started tattooing her. She was very quiet. She wasn't complaining. She wasn't even very talkative to begin with, right? And so when I finish, I tell her to look at it and I tell her to look at the tattoo, see if it's fine. And the first thing that comes out of her mouth is, how long is this going to last? And I was a bit confused and I was like, that tattoo? You mean it's a tattoo? I tell her. And she's like, yeah, how long is this gonna last? Like, how many months? And at first I thought she was trolling, but her face was like very like straight. She wasn't, she didn't have any expression on her face, is what I'm trying to say. And I was like, at first I laughed, which was a very bad thing for me to do, having your tattoo artist make fun of you. But I honestly thought it was a joke. Like I wasn't trying to be mean. I was like, it's a tattoo. I'm telling her like it's a permanent tattoo. It's not gonna go away. It's not gonna fade. It will fade, but it's still gonna be there. Like it's not gonna just disappear. And honestly, this girl so expressionless. Like she was like, "Oh, okay." This was one of the strangest reactions I've ever gotten to a finished tattoo. Like the strangest questions. And I was alone in the studio, so I didn't have anyone to witness that. And then I go ahead and tell another person, like, what the fuck? Like, that's my cat, by the way. Anyways, so I didn't have anyone to actually hear that because I was so shocked that I thought I was not hearing right. It was such a weird interaction. Um, and the only thing that comes into my head is that she might have thought that this was not that was a semi-permanent tattoo, because apparently there's some tattoo shops that give semi-permanent tattoos, which honestly I don't know how that works. I think that's just makeup ink, how they do the brows and the lips. They probably tattoo with those. I don't think that's a good idea because you're still gonna scar the skin and then you're just gonna have a scar without the ink. You know what I'm saying? Is like what is the point of that? Also, I don't know. I still have no idea what she was talking about. She didn't say any of that, but at that time being, I had many tourists coming in and asking whether or not we have this semi-permanent ink, and I was like, what the fuck is that, anyways. So I think that what happened there is that, and maybe a misunderstanding, because I didn't take in the appointment, so I was just tattooing people. I didn't have any interaction with them, which is very bad, but that's how that shop worked. I was, an employee. I was getting a monthly salary, so I was doing exactly as I've been told. And I think that was one of the worst things you can do, is not have your client talk with the artists themselves, because if they have a weird question like that, maybe can avoid them getting something permanent on their skin. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. It's like that's how everything went down. And I think that was probably some kind of misunderstanding. I don't know if she ever talked with the receptionist. The receptionists themselves know everything, like they're not random people. They're people that are tattooed and they're getting tattooed, and they probably have tattooed in their past lives, right? So they're not people that don't know what they're talking about. So I'm like I don't know. I'm just, trying to make sense out of it still. That was the first story. I'm gonna pop into a second story, which is a bit gruesome, and that's where things start to, get a little bit dark. Not dark. What's the word that I'm looking for besides gruesome? Disgusting, maybe. So I have a family coming in, right? There's this young girl. So it's the parents and a young girl, like a teenage girl, let's say 15. And she has a piercing on her ear. And I'm like, cool. She just wants her jewelry out and that's it. I don't even know what that part of the ear is. By the way, English is not my first language, so if I sound weird, that's it. But she had a piercing like up here. Is it cartilage? You get it. She comes in to get her piercing changed. That's what we've been told, by the way. She sits down and I look at this piercing that's like very wide. So let's say like this wide of a piercing on here. And I'm like, okay, that's a weird piercing to put. I'm looking at it from this side, still very wide. The back side is also very wide. So I was like, maybe it's one of those faux plug earrings, when you have it was a trend back at the time where you would have stretched ears or the faux plug earring. You know what I'm saying? So I thought it was one of those. And I get a closer look and I start to smell it. Now, I don't know how to explain this to you, but it smelled like a rotten flesh. And you might be questioning, how do you know what a rotten flesh smells like? It's like an open wound that got infected. The best way I can explain this, but also really like disgusting smell. And I was like, this is not normal. Something is going on here. Like I was sitting here, the girl could be like up here. I could smell it. So I call in another coworker. He has the same reaction. He's like, this is crazy. This is a disgusting smell. Something is wrong here. And we're trying to take a look at the piercing. What is that in her fucking ear? And little did we know, we could see the ends, right? We could see the thick ends on both of the sides, but we couldn't understand what that was. And I was trying to pull it apart and there was more smell coming out. And at some point I was trying not to vomit, so I left and I left my coworker there so we could change parts because we really didn't know what to do. And that's when I realized, when I came back the second time, that this was a screw on her ear. She screwed a screw on a piercing, like cartilage, like thick ass cartilage on your ear. The force and the pain that this girl might have gone through to just keep her piercing open, it's insane. Like a very young girl. She looked like a kid. I don't know how old she was, but the parents were like, didn't really understand what was going on there. They had no clue what their daughter did to herself. So that was a crazy thing to try to explain to them, that she had a screw in her ear. And that removing that was crazy. But instead of pulling, now we knew we had to unscrew. That girl said nothing, by the way. Only when I came close and asked her, is that a screw on your ear, is when she said, haha, yeah. So that's how I know for sure that, I should have just done that instead of that. And I'm not gonna describe the scent of all of this going down. We had like antibacterial stuff, so we were spraying on her. So, but it didn't do anything. Like the skin was already infected. Like the hole was already infected. Removing that thing was so difficult. It almost felt like I was going through the skin myself. Like I was. It's disgusting. Anyways, so I remove it and I see that she has an actual stretched hole on her cartilage. That's a very disturbing thing to do by yourself. I'm just letting you know, I had stretched ears, right? It took me months and months to stretch them. This girl forced a screw in her cartilage that was like I don't know how to tell you how big that was. Let's say the tip of this on her ear. After I removed that, it was that fucking wide. She had a hole. Now, I would have been that disgusted if this was not accompanied with the smell and the occasion of how that happened. But because it was like a realization for me, I was like, girl, yeah. The parents didn't have a very bad reaction to this. I want to say they were like, oh no, what did you do? You know, it's like very, you understand from that. Probably they didn't care that much. Like they were seeing their daughter with that huge ass thing on her ear and they didn't question it a minute. They just popped her in for us to fix what was damaged basically. This girl would probably need an actual hospital from what I smelled. I'm just saying, like, the third story I'm gonna tell, it's a little bit worse than this, but this is concerning because she has parents. She's a child. She should have had her parents taken care of that rather than random tattoo artists in a touristy area. Like, we were more worried than her own parents, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I just read that wrong. I don't know if I'm being very overly judgmental, but I was really shocked by what I've seen. I don't know. And the third story, like I said, it's worse than what I just described because it's still gruesome. I'm still gonna be very descriptive, and I'm sorry if I am too much, but I've seen and I smelled and I've touched all of these things, so I'm allowed to discuss you as well. Her story, and I think that's gonna be the last because I'm already 15 minutes in. I had a guy coming in. He got a tattoo on the back of his foot from another studio, right? So we were in a very touristy area, very busy area. There were around 5 or 6 tattoo shops on that road by itself. Like 2 were, or 3 was it really next to the same road, and there were 3 more a little bit further away, so like 5 minutes away. And he comes in and he's like, I got a tattoo from a different studio and I think that there's something really wrong with it. And I was like, okay, let's check it out. And my first reaction is like, dude, there's no tattoo on your foot. Like, what I could see is like a split open skin. Like there was probably a symbol there as far as I can remember. So I could see like lines and stuff. But the foot, like the skin was almost cut open and I could see meat. I don't know how else to explain it. Like I couldn't see the skin anymore. I could see the inside of it. And again, first reaction is calling another coworker to take a look at this. Take a look at this and tell me that what I'm seeing is what I think it is. And she's like, oh yeah, they butched him up. I was like, how is that even possible? Like, how is it possible to cut through, is it 6 layers of skin that we have? 6 layers of skin, and you can see through the meat, and you just send this guy off, tell him that his tattoo is finished. By the way, no ink on that, because obviously it's it's an open wound at that point. And I had so many questions. It's like, doesn't that fucking hurt? Like, how did you sat down to get your foot cut open? Is my question. But anyways, so I take a look at it. I was trying to understand what was going on, and I think what happened is that this tattoo artist was probably doing a straight line. He couldn't get it straight, and he kept going over and over and over until he actually pulled apart his skin. And this was like a very sensitive area where you don't overdo it. Like, you don't go to the depth that you should go to a different, like on your arm. You don't go that deep on that same, like, I don't know how to show this, but like it was here, up here. So this is like barely there. Like, there's barely any skin there. You don't go in as deep and you don't go in as much, right? So you just pull a line and that's it. You just let it be. But I think what happened is that he went over and over again to fix that line until he actually broke apart his skin. And the tattoo being on the back of his foot, he couldn't see what happened there. Like the person that got it tattooed, I mean, the guy that came in. But that was one of the most gruesome things that I've ever seen in that shop. Like, it scarred me for real. I've never seen a wound it open like that. Like, it was like a fucking rose petal. Like, I don't know how else to explain. And I was like, no, there's no fixing. Your skin is like open. There's no ink to put in to fix the tattoo. And he was like, what am I supposed to do? And I was like, I really have no idea. You should probably go to the hospital. I didn't tell him that, and I probably should have told him to go to the hospital. And that was, I honestly didn't want to make things worse because, you have tourists coming in. They're probably like very anxious about what they've done to themselves, like through 3 meters away from the shop. Not that that shop was perfect, but something like that would never happen in that shop. We were one of the best shops in the area. But I didn't want to scare him. I don't really remember what I've said. I think I just said keep it clean, and this is like a wound. There's nothing to like fix. You have to let the wound heal. But he probably would have need stitches, is what I'm trying to say. Is like he should have probably been to the hospital, and I don't think I suggested that. Keep in mind that we're talking about a shop where I was working at. We're talking about a shop that was so busy that people popping in to just give them a look was not kind of acceptable. Like, I don't care that you went to a different shop, mate. It's like that was the policy. Like, you're not our problem, but because we're humans, we wanted to like help or take a look or see what happened, even though we didn't tattoo you. Like, you're still a fucking human being. You still want to take care of someone who's like botched. And so we only had like very limited time to deal with all of these stories that I'm telling you. The stories like took place in like 5 or 10 minutes. But this guy, I think we've only seen like not even 5 minutes, and then he left. And I should probably tell him, to go to the hospital. From what I can remember, it was really fucking bad. But yeah, we had so many people coming in to be like, to just check on them because they've been to other shitty tattoo shops that they actually butched them. Anyways, those were my stories. I probably have more that I can remember right now, and I honestly don't think I should keep going because we were 22 minutes in. Hope I didn't traumatize anyone else. Honestly, y'all, like, there were funny moments as well. Like, we had a bridal photo shoot on the shop. Like, we had a couple coming in and they were like, can we take photos in your shop? And they were lucky enough that we weren't busy, and I'm probably in the photos of someone's wedding, so that's interesting. It's like I was pretending that I was tattooing. I think I was tattooing the bride, So I was like bent over trying to like pretend that I was tattooing her or something. It was quite fun. And yeah, it's one of those things that you don't think that's gonna happen, but yeah, that happened as well. So yeah, these are my stories. Thank you for watching this, I guess. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.